Good afternoon, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Mentor Collective's Partner Education webinar about turning insight into action, 5 specific ways that you can leverage your Mentor Collective platform to drive student success. I am joined today by a colleague. We'll quickly introduce ourselves before we jump into our agenda. My name is Annemiek Rice. I'm the Vice President of Partner Success. Here at the Mentor Collective team, I work with the folks who are coaching and guiding you every day on leveraging our technology and are helping you and your participants run fantastic mentorship programs. In a former life, I was an academic advisor and assessment professional. Very excited to be able to be here at Mentor Collective and help so many of you use data to drive student outcomes, which is our focus today. I will hand it over to my colleague, Dr. LeCount.
Hello, everybody. I'm Shannon. You're welcome to call me that. And I am a product manager here at Mentor Collective. I tend to work on special projects that involve data and research and talking about all the valuable ways to use data. So this is a perfect place for me to join today. I have been in higher ed since 2005. I was a faculty member for 8 years, and then I was in institutional effectiveness and institutional research until I came to Mentor Collective. So Annemiek and I are pretty pumped to have this conversation today.
Great. And I will encourage you, we're going to do some logistics to get started. We are using Zoom today. You're welcome to keep your camera on. You're welcome to take your camera off. Your audio is on mute and the chat is open. So you are welcome and encouraged to go in and say hi, where you're from. A lot of our partner success team is on the line today. So maybe let them know that you're here so that they can say hello as well. And if you would like to see Shannon and my faces while we're walking through things, you can adjust your video layout to speaker view, or you can see all of the team members here. I will also add that a great thing to do during our time today is to follow along in your Mentor Collective Partner Dashboard. So if you would like to pull up another tab and you'd like to get logged in and make sure that you know how to click or what things look like to make this more interactive for you, this would create a great opportunity to get yourself settled. I'm going to walk through what we're covering today, what exactly you'll be able to do at the end of this time, hopefully just about half an hour. And then Shannon is going to get us started with an interactive poll. So keep your fingers near the keyboard if you can. Today, we are going to show you how to do 5 very specific things to drive student success outcomes by showing you exactly what to click within the Mentor Collective platform that you have. None of these require extra setup. None of them require anything but a few button pushes for you. So the first one is helping you to strategize on how to recruit mentors based on some of the feedback from mentees about what they're looking for. The second is for you to be able to recommend resources to your mentees and mentors when they identify that there are problems or needs or concerns. The third is how to use insights into a sense of belonging and academic self-efficacy to drive student interventions. And the fourth is to use survey responses, lots of different kinds of survey responses, to better understand your student population in real time. So all of these are designed based on things we think you should be doing probably about the start of the school year, if you're on a traditional semester calendar, or for those of you who are in quarters, you might be a little further along or a little behind. And then finally, to disaggregate or segment some of these data to better understand student population. So that's our agenda for today. Let's get started.
All right, we're going to do a little bit of screen share shifting throughout this. Excuse me one second, share my screen. So we're going to use Menti today for our polls. It's menti.com. You can access that from your phone or from your computer. But when you go to menti.com, please just put in this number, and we're gonna get started with a question, 1, to make sure it's working for all of us, but 2, to get an idea of what resources or services you think are most underutilized on your campus. One of the elements of mentorship is to use the peer influence to get students to know about and use the resources that we have for them on campus, the support systems, the support services. And there are always things on campus that we want them to go to more often. So looks like the answers are coming in and it looks like tutoring, mental health services. These are things we hear commonly. Thank thank you all for participating and for sharing. This is one way where we can see if the concerns that we have on our, or that you have on your campuses align with what people have in their other campuses. Office hours, yes. So tutoring looks like it's winning. Mental health services definitely up there. Advising, counseling, all of these things, very, very important. So we want students to be aware of them. And we want students to be able to get to them. We'll talk a little bit about that on the along the way. One more question, now that we're used to it. This is going to get us in the mindset of the first thing we want, Annemiek and I want to share with you today. On these categories, if you refresh, you should be able to respond to this question. Of these categories, life challenges, age, major, interest, what do you think is most important to students in a match? I am very interested to see what people think about this. Ooh, I'm fascinated, not surprised, because major tends to be the reason that or the first conversation that we have with campuses about how students want to be matched. So I'm going to let those answers keep coming in. It looks like life challenges is becoming a big one. That's great. All right, so let me talk about the first goal we have for today and how to find some information. If you have followed along with the features that we've added recently to the dashboard and to our platform, we've given you the opportunity to strategize on how to recruit mentors that match the desires of mentees, right? In a matching survey, mentees are able to say what's most important to them in a match. And your mentors who are also taking that matching survey can indicate if they have those life experiences, those life challenges, those majors, those traits that mentees are looking for. Sometimes there's a mismatch, right? Sometimes we don't have enough in our mentor pool to be able to meet the needs of the mentees, but we can do that if we recruit in the right way. We can't recruit in the right way if we don't know who they are. So we have added this chart, this recruitment opportunity chart to the dashboard, and I want to show you exactly where to find that. Whoops, I have a very testy mouse. Okay, so our friends at Saddleback, they have just started their third year of the program, and they are recruiting and matching students as we speak. And they have given me permission to use their site as an example here. I'm on the front page of the dashboard. I am just under the partner intelligence chart, and there is a navigation menu just below that chart. If I click on onboarding and matching, I'm going to get a lot of details about who is opting in, who is getting matched. And if I scroll all the way down, I'm going to see top recruitment opportunities. It's going to let us know in who this program, what mentees are looking for in a trait or a characteristic of their mentor, and how many mentors are in that pool. In this case, there isn't a huge disparity. Just so you know, too, the default view is the top 5 characteristics where we're waiting for a mentor in that particular pool. But you can go into specific categories if you want and learn a few more details or go a little bit deeper into where you might need to recruit in maybe a career interest area or a major or a club and organization that aligns with the affinity and identity that students are looking for. So a lot of different ways to use this information that you wouldn't be able to do if you didn't have it. You might also have the question, is what a particular mentee asking for typical? And maybe in subsequent years or this year, do we need to think about recruiting that population as a whole? I'm going to skip to the participants, click on the participants traits tab. Annemiek told you we were going to tell you where to click and share that there's also a mentee's top matching criterion. Again, this data comes from the matching survey. It's going to default to the count of mentees that are saying, I'd like to have a mentor that has the same interests as me or the same life challenges as me. If you prefer or have a reason to look at this in percentage, you can see how common these things and how important they are to mentees along the way. So it's just another way of interpreting that data. Spoiler alert, but not completely, because Annemiek's going to take over from here. You'll notice there's also mentee goal information. That's going to become significant in the next things we're going to share with you. But before we do, we're going to do one more mentee question. What do you think your mentees' goals are for your program? This is a ranking, so all of these are probably important, but what do you think the top goals for your mentees are? And I'll let some of the answers come in, and then I'll stop sharing and pass it to Annemiek. By the way, as you're responding to this in the last question about what's most important in matching, no one chose age, but I will tell you that for certain mentees at a certain age is very, very important. So that's something to think about. Little tidbit from the research desk. All right, navigating campus services, wouldn't that be lovely? And succeeding in classes. This is awesome. Thank you so much for participating in this. We can always share these results later. I'm going to stop my share of my screen so Annemiek can take over.
Great. And I will add that letting a mentee or empowering a mentee to tell us what is most important to them is probably my number one favorite thing about the matching survey at Mentor Collective. Without the wizardry of that data collection and intelligent matching process, we would have to make assumptions about what these students cared about based on their demographic criteria. And that is just not the best practice in a lot of the things we know about developing sense of belonging and making real connections with students. So just a great empowering element to tell your students that they are the most important thing in the match that is made or suggested for them. So next thing we're going to talk about is how can you leverage some resources to help students who need it. So we started off talking about resource utilization and help seeking behavior a little bit when we asked you what resources are underutilized. A lot of the features that we have been releasing and will continue to release are there to help you drive up resource utilization at your institution, to help you help students navigate to the things that are available to them and take advantage of those. So here is one of the newest ways to do that. Now, if you didn't already know this, your participants, your mentors, and your mentees already have access to a library of discussion guides. These have been crafted and created based on peer-reviewed research and established best practices in education and in general. And they are meant for the mentor and mentee to have a conversation about a topic of importance. You'll find a number of these in the system, and they're presented to, and actually I'll share an example of what it looks like here. They're presented automatically to the mentee based on their goals. And they're also presented to the mentor based on their mentee's goals. So it's going to really create that first fruitful conversation and those continued fruitful conversations. But now they're also available to you to help when you are potentially also involved in some way with helping those students. So I'm going to jump into the system here. So most common way that you as a program coordinator or interventionist at your institution is involved with a student is if you get an incoming flag. So an incoming flag is where a mentor potentially raises their hand and says, I just met with the mentee. We talked about this issue. Here's where I supported them. Where they might say, hey, I just talked to the student. I gave them some advice, but I feel like they could use some more support. And then you will see these as they come in real time. They'll give you, hey, this one's about dorm life. But let's say we get a flag that comes in from a student where the mentor is helping the mentee with difficulty in group projects, right? I feel like I'm pulling all the weight in my class project. I'm really struggling to work effectively with my classmates. What I can find in my resources section here is all of the resources that we have pre-populated. And I see there's an example here around having difficult conversations. This particular resource or discussion guide provides guidance for the mentor and the mentee. It provides the mentee themselves some tools that they can use. They can maybe practice that conversation with their mentor and then use it with their classmates. And now you can actually copy a link to this resource directly and share it with that mentor to say, hey, why don't you chat with your mentee using this discussion guide, or the mentee directly if that's the relationship you're looking to have. So this is a brand new element of this. Now, an important action for your notepad, if you have it, is you can add custom resources to your Mentor Collective platform. If you would like to add to this wonderful library of resources that are organized by goals and by topics, you can add whatever you would like for your institution. It could be a web link to a site that has all of the information about mental health services at your campus. It could be a list of upcoming programs that help with networking, whatever is of interest to you. All you need to do is email us that information, a document or a link. And then you can also tell us what goals from that matching survey it could be related to so that your mentors and mentees can also find them themselves. All right, I'm going to pass it back to Shannon, who is going to talk us through our next.
Nope, you're going to do the second one. You're doing two in a row.
Thank you, Shannon. Great. All right. Yes, I'm going to talk to you about how to use the data for leveraging early non-cognitive insights. And I think many of you have probably heard us talking about this a lot, but we did it at the end of the school year last year. And so I'm here to remind you, now that these data are coming in and your students are starting school and classes, now is the time to log in and use this information. So your students are taking start of program assessments. They are answering questions if you're in like an FYE, student success oriented mentorship program design. They're being asked questions about sense of belonging. They're being asked questions about academic self-efficacy. And now we can do things about them before they, feel like they need to drop a class, before they feel like they have no friends and want to transfer. So it's the proactive intervention opportunity. When you log into your partner dashboard, you will see a little bell at the top right side of the screen with a number of notifications for you. If you have launched your startup program survey, and you can tell here by looking at your assessments list to kind of get a sense of how much data you have for each of these assessments. So this time of year, you normally start to see some of this start to collect, but you won't see anything for your middle and end yet. You just get excited about those. But right now I can actually see the participants that have low academic self-efficacy. And I can start to think about if I want to copy and export this participant list and email them about an upcoming tutoring workshop. Do I want to check in on any particular student and see how things have been going since they responded to the survey? This is a great example where I can see on the profile page their exact responses to this assessment. And I can see that the student is low in confidence about achieving their goals. That being said, I can also see they've had tons of interaction with their mentor, and I might be able to glean from that the mentorship is having its intended effect, which is that it could be driving help-seeking behavior. It could be driving self-efficacy. I might check in with the mentor and say, how is Latasha doing? Do we think we should also connect them with a tutor or academic advisor, right? So these are the actionable data that you have access to within those reports. And you can also filter and search and sort through these data. Maybe I specifically want to grab all of the first gen students and export that list and send it over to my Center for First Generation Student Success and say, hey, if you have any relationship with these students, these are the folks who might benefit from a little extra encouragement or a little extra support. Now I'm going to kick it back to Shannon, who is going to do a little poll for us before we move on to our next topic.
Correct. That is indeed what we're going to do. Oh, wait, did I share it? Am I sharing the right thing? Okay, thank you. I thought I shared everybody's faces for a second. Okay, back to the Mentimeter. So Annemiek just talked about being able to know when someone might have a low sense of belonging, but what resources, offices, or experiences would you actually suggest those students go to if you had a chance to talk to them? This is true crowdsourcing, right? Every campus has a different idea. This should generate a word cloud if we start getting some answers in there, but I'm really interested to see what you all are doing in your programs and to encourage students who might be feeling a little bit lonely on campus. Here we go. Residence life is a great way of helping people connect. I agree. I was going to tell a story there, but we don't have time for my stories right now. Definitely mentorship in giving a second invitation or a second nudge. Wouldn't that be a lovely idea for someone who may not have said yes to begin with? These are great answers. Thank you. Please keep the answers coming in. I actually am going to ask you another question, though, to set up for the next scenario. Talk to your mentors. I'm seeing mentors showing up for sure, right? Right. That is a great way to feel like someone is there to have a conversation with you, whatever the conversation might be. So thank you all for your answers and for sending that information in. Next question, though, should switch or it should update. I am about to talk to you about surveys and the data that comes in from the multiple surveys that students encounter through a mentorship program. You have a lot of professionals on campus, a lot of different stakeholders. I have listed a few here in general, and I'm interested, how often should those professionals monitor the results, if at all, right? Maybe some shouldn't. Maybe some should be in there all the time. I'm interested to see what you all think about who should be interacting with the information I'm about to highlight for you. Ooh, Dean of Students. You know, one of my best friends here, I'm in Duluth, Minnesota, is a dean of students, and she gets they do not have Mentor Collective, and she gets very jealous when I tell her about the data that's available. So I agree with you there. Okay, while you keep the answers coming in, please, thank you. I love this. I am going to start to talk about how to use survey responses better, to better understand the needs of the students that participate in your program. So first of all, just a text statement, students can respond to the surveys that we send to them, the matching surveys, the micro surveys, the assessment surveys, the post-session surveys, which are those questions that they answer at the end of conversations. They can do that from their computer or from their phone. We are responsive to the technology that want to use, and you can always rest assured that will be they will have a positive experience. Before I go into the demo site to dig into the details a bit, I want to remind you all that before matching surveys go to mentors and mentees, you can preview what it's going to look like. The standard questions that you're seeing on the left are part of the algorithm and help us provide the best match possible. But if you made any sort of customizations, or if you're just curious as to what the matching survey looks like, the preview is accessible from the partner dashboard until you start releasing the survey to the mentors and the mentees. Once you start gathering information via survey, whether it's the matching, the assessment, whatever it might be, there are places throughout the dashboard where it's available. Sometimes it'll be an aggregate. It will be summaries of particular data points. Sometimes it'll be specific to a specific participant, as Annemiek showed a little bit of to begin with, and I'll double down on. And then sometimes you can see it in full raw data form, which is great for analysis. Remember, I said my background was in institutional research and effectiveness, so this is my favorite part of it, but that doesn't mean it has to be your favorite part of it. Let me go to the demo site to show you some of this information. So we already covered from the first example that participant traits will contain information that comes in from the matching survey. That's the source. This is student identified information. So how they identify in race and gender identity, and what their goals are, all the things that students tell us about themselves in the matching survey, or not all of it. A lot of what they tell us in the matching survey will show up on the participants traits tab. There's also an assessments tab, as Annemiek showed you a little while ago. This is, again, aggregate information that builds as more. This information comes from the assessment surveys. So to remind you, 3 times during the program, you can have an assessment survey going out. Depending on your program design, different questions will be asked at the start and at the middle and at the end. All are valuable in their own way. So don't wait until the end to look at your assessment data. Start looking at it right away, please. From this assessment tab, you'll see who's responding, how many students have responded. When you start to look at particular non-cognitive factors or student success factors, you can look at sense of belonging, academic self-efficacy, see change over time, or see aggregate views of the averages. So this is the whole group together, how they're answering particular questions in any given factor. So that is the aggregate way of viewing assessment data. But you are not limited to an aggregate way, right? A lot of times this information is important because you want to give summary data to the people who are paying the bills or the people who are interested in these students, and this is really important to share with them. But sometimes you want to be intentional with individual students, and Annemiek alluded to this as well. I have navigated to the participants page, and one of the filters that you have available on the participants page is the assessment surveys they've completed. You may want to just see the students who responded to the end of program assessment. The reason I share that is there tend to be more questions on the middle and end of program assessments than the start of program assessment. There are different things that are important at different times in the program, and we have designed our assessment surveys to accommodate that. So I have filtered to everybody who responded to the end of program survey, and now I have a list of all the students who have participated. Let me just say, participation in an end of program survey is an indication that they are engaged. So let's be thankful for that as well. When I take a look at an individual student, if I want to see what they have to say, perhaps I'm an advisor and I've been working with Aaron and I want to know, I've talked to him about the mentorship program, but I really want to know how he's feeling about it. I can see his responses to the end of program survey, including if he's having a positive experience with his mentor or not, right? What is he telling me and what is he indicating on the assessment? Something that gives us 2 points of contact with the student to let them know how they're thinking about the program. And you'll see any open-ended questions or any answers they have to the questions as well. You don't have to click on every single student to see these details, though. It doesn't have to be that tedious. This is more of working one-on-one. Hang on, before I show you, though, I also want to point out that all the matching survey data, every response to every question on the matching survey is also available on the student's profile. So you can really get a lot of information about a student from their profile. But like I said, you don't have to click on every student individually. I'm navigating to the exports, and I don't know how many of you have looked at the exports page, but I want to encourage you to, because there's a lot of information there. All of your assessments, all of your matching surveys, all of the detail about your participants are available in these exports in a CSV format. Here's an example of what you will get if you use these exports. Instead of looking at every individual student, you will be able to look at all of the responses in one place to this end of program survey. You can, there's a question that says, do you have any feedback for us? And it sure is nice to be able to filter that information and see in general what students are saying about it. So this information is great for summarizing groups or gobs of data. I don't know why gobs is in my head, but that's what I think of when I think of bunches of data. But this is also the format that's necessary for institutional research offices to do some analyses and to incorporate into additional campus analysis where mentorship data is really useful. So that's another use of those exports along the way. One more scenario, but before we go to that scenario, we're going to do one more mentee question. I am curious, for those of you who have mentorship programs on your campus, what student populations you're targeting with your mentorship initiative. Campuses have different goals, different reasons for developing mentorship programs, and there tend to be specific populations that we want to focus on. New transfers, I'm so happy to see that. First generation students, as a first generation student, I'm also very happy to see that. Excellent. So we're definitely focusing on the beginning or as someone is starting a new experience on campus, and that's great. Oh, juniors and seniors, yay to you who are doing that. They have needs as well. We've been having a lot of conversations here lately about that second summer, that summer between the first year and the second year, where all of the wonderful orientation and first-time experiences kind of drop off, and students tend to drop off then as well. So thinking about those students in the middle is really important. So let's discuss the last tip that we have for today, and that's segmenting and disaggregating by attribute to understand data. Because we even though there were some commonalities there are definitely different populations that we want to focus on, and I want to make sure that you all know how to do that within your dashboard. So I'm navigating back to the first page, and I'm looking at the partner intelligence chart, which will default to total conversations and showing your information in aggregate. The data points that you can view in the chart, again, are important at different times within the program. We tend to focus on engagement though, how many conversations, what the average number of conversations, really, what are students doing in the program, because we love to see that there's activity in this program that we believe in so much. But sometimes that's not enough. We want to look at individual populations or specific populations to say, we really know that this would work for them. Are they engaging the way we want to? And that's why there's a population dropdown and an ability to filter. Now, gender, race or ethnicity, first generation status, these are all things, again, that as a student responds to or as a mentee responds to the matching survey, they're going to be put in those populations. And that's how you're going to filter on this board. And it's very important, right? Or this chart. It's very important to be able to see that. But not everything is asked on the matching survey for how you might want to segment students and look at them. So a few examples that we've added in this demonstration site, but are completely free to what you would want to do, are college and campus club. This information gets in through institution provided data. So you can, in partnership with your Mentor Collective partner, upload tags or segments or labels for participants in your program to be able to segment them into these different groups so that you can easily monitor. That means you can support all your students on campus and still have the ability to look at specific groups and help those groups specifically. You can monitor their activity in this chart by using the drop down, but you're not limited to just this aggregate view. Again, these filters show up across the pages on the dashboard. Right now, I'm on the conversations page. And you'll notice that before I chose clubs and organizations, we know that participating in outside the classroom events, clubs and organizations are indicators that students are connecting with campus. It helps them make friends. It helps them belong. Sense of belonging leads to retention. This is all the reason and the theory behind what we want from students. So maybe you want to you notice on that last chart that students who were part of academic and professional clubs tended to engage at a higher level than the others. And let's highlight that. The reason I went to the conversations page is because I wanted to see what are they talking about, right? So I'm going to filter to those who are in academic and professional clubs. And I'm going to look at the conversation topics, and I'm going to notice they're talking about staying balanced. They're talking about school life. These are social things, which make sense for people who are members of clubs, but maybe it's time to highlight them in a newsletter or in an event or a supplemental aspect of the mentorship program where they can share what they talked about and what they shared with each other so that other people can benefit from, or other groups can benefit as well who may not be having those kind of conversations. Another way of thinking about this information is to go to the participants. And I'm going to get a little fancier with my filtering here. Right now, I only want to look at mentees, right? Because I'm interested in helping them out. I still want to stick to those who are members of academic and professional clubs. And I only want students who are matched, because I sometimes will get data from students who were not matched or unmatched or whatever, and I want to narrow it down to that group of students. Again, I have a consumable list of students. This is another way I can contact them, ask them, do you know about leadership in those clubs? Do you want to invite other mentees? There are a lot of ways of interacting with this group, but I also want to show you another way of using this information. Annemiek pointed out that you can export these data when you filter down to specific lists. And by choosing the filter result, you're going to get you're not going to get all of the information. You're just going to get the list you filtered to. And when you do that, you can easily look at some of the information and think about what it means and how you can act on it. I want to point out academic and professional clubs. They are engagement in campus, their sense of belonging, but they are also part of the hidden curriculum. We first generation students don't always know how those will benefit us. And I want you to notice that most of the students who are part of these clubs are not first generation students. So maybe this is a thing or a campaign or a nudge or a message that you can give to the first generation students in your group that, hey, these clubs are out there and they help you connect professionally down the road. So this would be a great networking nudge for a particular population of students that, again, you need this data to determine. The other thing is sometimes it's just good to confirm that we're doing the right thing. We say that engagement and mentorship and engagement in events outside the classroom will help with a sense of belonging. And when I look at these data about these students who are in this club and org, I can see their most recent sense of belonging response to an assessment survey, and they're pretty high. Right? So it's great. This is what we want to see from students like this. Again, it's an easy, compact way of taking in that information and making sure and confirming that indeed we are doing what we want to do, and might lead us down some other roads of data analysis. That is it for our tips and tricks, but you have an opportunity to ask questions. Mackenzie, have any come through the chat that we haven't seen?
No, the one question that came through has been answered.
Oh, awesome. I'm a very poor chat monitor, so I'm very happy to hear that.
I want to add a few comments, one related to the question that came in, which is if you are looking to drive up the number of students who have responded to your assessment so that you have more wonderful data. Lydia responded in here, as well did I, that within the communication campaigns that the team here is running for your mentorship programs, we can send reminders or nudges to students to complete the assessments. In addition to that, I would encourage you to consider different incentivization strategies on your end. The biggest one is mentioning it, especially to your mentor population, talking about the importance of the feedback, talking about the importance of the data to the success of your program and your ability to support them. The second is to use the data. So if you are going in and accessing this data and using it, you are reinforcing its value. And the third is little incentives. So you can access the export of respondents, which means you can say, I'm going to run a raffle. I'm going to provide a $50 bookstore gift card to 3 of the folks who respond. So you have access to that in real time. You can do those types of small incentive types of things, pre-parking pass for a day, whatever thing you know works for your institution is within your budget, invitation to coffee with the president, whatever it might be. So those are some things I would suggest that you do in addition to what we're already doing, maximize response rates. Would anyone like to do a final, just going to pause a moment. If anyone would like to chat in a final question, you're also welcome to unmute yourself if your question is complicated or you'd like to ask it verbally.
We were hoping to only take up 30 minutes of your day. We took up 40. So thanks for sticking around.
Great. This session is recorded. So if you would like to share it with a colleague or refer back to it, Mackenzie on our team here will be taking care of a recap email with help articles and a link to the recording for you as well. And we appreciate you spending some time with us today. I hope that you go in and do something to help one of your students before this day is out. And we're happy to be part of helping you do that. Thank you for joining us.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.